Welcome, everybody, to Second to None. Tonight's show, we are going to be discussing the NCAA March Madness bracket, where everybody landed, give some thoughts about if everybody agrees with how the bracket came out, who's all in it, who's left out. Not going to really debate a lot of stuff, just more of a conversational type show tonight. I'm Chris. I'm your host. I'm joined by my good buddy down in Alabama, Wes. Huge Alabama fan. I'm sure he's got some thoughts. We also have Kenneth, an Auburn fan, and George is an Arkansas fan. So with that, what do y'all think about the bracket? Do you agree with how it fell, and do you think there was any controversy?
Oh, well, I guess I'll start it out since I made the comment earlier in the week on Facebook. I think the bracket's rigged. I mean, I'm going to put it out there like this. And if anybody wants to hate on me, that's fine. I don't care. I'll take all the hate I can get. Vanderbilt got robbed. And I'm going to give you 3 reasons Vanderbilt got robbed. Okay, number 1. Explain to me how Mississippi State got to play for an 11 seed, and Vanderbilt doesn't make it in.
Well, I got 50+ reasons that Vanderbilt didn't make it in.
Well, bring it on, Wes.
I agree. Well, that was an ugly loss. That hurt us bad.
Well, that's actually, you can't lose to Grambling. That's a really bad loss. They're
a conference championship champion that lost 7 games.
I don't care. There's 47 different conferences. They won the Boo Boo State Conference.
Okay, we lost to VCU. They call that a bad loss. They're a 10 seed. A 10 seed is a bad loss?
Nah.
Well, that means that there are 40 other teams that are better than them. But yes, okay.
And Southern Miss, who was also a conference champion, that lost less than 10 games.
So here's the deal. I think Vanderbilt deserved a spot in, right?
Right.
I've always said this. I don't like the way that I think the bracket is – I don't like the way they do it. I don't think that conference champions deserve automatic bids. I don't think that you deserve a chance to win the national championship if you have a losing record. You can't even be in the NIT unless you're 500. But if you happen to pop off and win your conference championship, you get to go play for a national title. Albeit you're not going to win, because everybody says that there's parity. There's always parity. I actually read an article yesterday. Look, you're almost even money to put 2 number 1s into the Final Four for the past, since it expanded to 64 teams.
And without giving away my champion, I've actually got 3 number 1s in my bracket in the Final Four. So, and that
actually has happened 18% of the time. By the way, actually it's 17.6. The Final Four has been a 1, 2, or 3 seed, where all teams didn't go below the 3 seeds. Almost 85% of the time. So tell me that there really is parity in college basketball. That means 12 teams have a chance to win the national championship.
Right. And there are a few exceptions to the rule, but generally, if you're not a top 3 seed, you're not getting to the Final Four.
Yeah.
I think I agree with the Vanderbilt should have been in. There's several other teams that got at-large bids that I don't think are better than Vanderbilt, and that's not just me being a homer. That's just they didn't play the kind of schedule that Vanderbilt had to play. They didn't play Kentucky twice. They didn't play Tennessee twice. And I see Wes laughing because in football, it
doesn't feel good, does it, Chris?
It's weird. It's a weird feeling to want it one way in one sport. Yeah.
To know 100%, everybody in this group chat knows that Vanderbilt, especially the way they played the last 10 games of the season, prove that they are better than at least 25 of those teams in the tournament, probably.
Easily.
Right.
Arkansas in any division not named the SEC or the Big 12 would easily only had 3 or 4 losses. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I really have to appreciate that Reese Davis did in the show on Sunday, and Coral Ravitch and John Dykes both came out and said that Houston would not be a 1 seed if they played in the SEC or the Big 12.
Yep.
That's probably true because there's so much more athleticism that they would have faced. Arkansas is athletic. Yep. Alabama's athletic. Alabama beat them. So Auburn's athletic.
But here's the second team that I don't understand made it in at a 7 seed, and Vanderbilt didn't make it in. Y'all ready for this? This absolutely makes me mad. Michigan State.
You got nope. See, Michigan State, they get to be there, and they deserve to be there because the man at the head of the class there, when it's March time, you don't bet against Tom Izzo.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, I understand that.
And without saying the SEC is the best conference in basketball, the Big Ten and the SEC, typically the ACC, those 3 or 4 conferences are always at the top of the table.
Yes.
Yes, you're right. That is a true statement.
So I can't complain about Michigan State being in.
I mean, Tom Izzo has the second most tournament wins of any active coach.
Mm-hmm.
That's an incredible stat.
It is. And, well, we're just waiting to reveal to see what I did.
The man has 53 tournament wins, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's two, and some teams, that's 3 seasons worth of wins for some teams.
That's probably that's more than our last 4.
Yeah.
So let's get into some of these brackets real quick. And the way I want to do it, I want to start with the number 1 seed overall, follow with the number 2 seeds bracket, the number 3 seed, and then the number 4 seed. So without any further talk about it, let's jump on and talk about the South bracket and the number 1 overall seed, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations, Wes. You guys absolutely proved me wrong. I doubted Alabama early in the season. I was wrong. That's an outstanding team, and I've been saying for 2 weeks that they deserve the number 1 seed.
I appreciate your taking it on the chops there. I think the rest of the SEC deserves an apology because you said early in the season we only had 4 teams that were deserving of being in the tournament. We pretty much deserve 9, if not 10 teams.
Yeah, 9. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say that too.
And I was wrong there. At that point in time, that's what it appeared like. But since then, everybody has actually stepped up their game and really played some solid basketball down the stretch.
All right. Before we go into the South bracket, I will go out there and say this. I will go on the statement and say everybody already knows this. I hate Alabama, but I went and did some soul searching this week, and Wes will be proud of me. In this bracket, you will see as we unreveal it that I have Alabama going pretty far. But I will say this. If Alabama stands me up and kills my bracket, this will be the last year that I ever take Alabama out of 64. I'm taking it to the point. It is what it is. With my bracket, I would be fine if they lost close to the end of where I got them. I'll be okay. But if they lose this weekend, because Alabama does not show up to play basketball, I will never, ever again. I do not care who they're playing. And that's hard for me to do.
Okay, that's fair. There's a lot of people saying this. Polly Keene jumps in here and says Alabama's going to win it all. I don't think that's per se a hot take. I think there's a lot of people nationwide that think Alabama's got the stuff to win that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see as we go.
So one of the reasons I think that we are built to win, as you watched in the SEC tournament, we've got two starters previous starters that are coming off the bench now. We've got an inside force like you like, Chris. Bediako is a beast inside, and he had his best game in the SEC championship. 12 points, 13 boards, and 5 blocks. Right? Brandon Miller didn't play very well, and he still ended up with almost 30.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the good thing is when he's not shooting well, he gets to the line. He still plays defense, and he rebounds. He averaged first, and not to debate the fact that the NCAA did not make him a Wooden Award finalist, at least a finalist, is criminal.
I agree with this.
They should be ashamed of themselves. Go ahead.
I do believe that they have corrected that list and did finally put him on as a finalist for both Wooden and Naismith.
Okay.
I think
it got corrected. You're right.
Yeah, it did.
It did get corrected.
We've got multiple players that can take over games, that have big time experience. We've got a good point guard. We've got a number 2. We've got good big men. I think we're built to win in the tournament.
And speaking of Bediako, the first time that Vanderbilt played Alabama in Nashville, Alabama jumped up to a 20-point lead and just played with us the rest of the game. And it was Bediako that actually led that charge to get him that big lead. He just killed us on the inside, even with Liam Robbins available.
Yeah.
So that I see your point about him being a force to reckon with.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see anybody in this South region pulling an upset?
Yes.
You mean against Alabama or just an upset?
Just an upset in general.
Yes. Yes.
Who do you think?
I'm going to go out on. I'm fixing to go out on a limb, and I'm going with this. I have Charleston over San Diego State. I did my research on Charleston. Charleston's a good team. Yes, it's a 5-12. Everybody talk what you want, but at this time of year, it's a different hype.
Charleston, there is always at least one 5-12 upset every year.
I have 2 of them. No. I think that's the only 5-12 I have that's an upset. Yeah.
So I've actually got a couple upsets. I've got Furman knocking off Virginia.
I got 2 of them. Oh, Furman knocking off Virginia?
I've got Charleston knocking off San Diego State. And I've actually got Creighton getting to, let's see, the Sweet 16.
I'm with you. Creighton, I think if they get past NC State, I think they'll beat Baylor.
Yeah. And the reason I say that, we've seen them play an athletic team like Baylor early in the year when they played Arkansas, and they were able to handle Arkansas. So I feel like they've got enough fundamentals that they can get by Baylor.
I have Creighton in the Sweet 16 against Arizona.
I think they can get there. I think Missouri can pull the upset against Arizona.
Well,
if they can play their pace of game.
I've got Arizona beating Missouri. Mm-hmm.
I got Arizona beating Missouri.
I think it's going to be a whole lot better game than what people anticipated.
I do too, because Missouri actually the last week of the season, Missouri played Alabama tough.
Yep.
Granted, the last week of the season, Alabama didn't shoot well or play well the last 2 weeks. But I think again they've got some really good guard play, and they also play dirty basketball, right? Like they want to muddy the game. They want to slow it down. They want to play their pace. And Arizona wants to get up and down just like Alabama does.
So Wes, what you're telling me, off your bracket is you possibly have a Mizzou Alabama Elite Eight?
I think that Missouri will play Creighton, and I just something about the Blue Jays. Just like, I've watched them play a couple of times. I think Creighton is gonna get there, and the team that scares me as an Alabama fan is Virginia.
They can dirty up a game too.
They
like to play that slow down defensive game.
Yep, they want that game to be 50-43.
So, everybody, here we go.
Well,
here's where I'm gonna have the downfall if Alabama loses. I have Alabama in the Final Four, and I'm gonna stop there. For the first time in school history, I do have Alabama in the Final Four.
I do too. I do too. Mine, my South. Go ahead, Chris.
In comparing Missouri with Arizona, we know that Missouri handled Tennessee. They were able to deal with their athleticism. I know you can't do transitive properties,
but they handled Tennessee with possibly the biggest injury in the conference. Tennessee should be a 2 seed if they were healthy.
Yeah.
They had the worst injury in the entire conference.
That's true.
And I don't debate that. Liam Robbins was a huge loss, but I don't think it had the effect on us like losing Zakai Ziegler did to Tennessee.
So, Chris, who do you have out of that bracket making the Final Four?
My Final Four out of that bracket would be the number 1 seed Alabama.
I'm going number 1 seed Alabama. That's my Final Four. Wesley and George.
Number 1 seed Alabama.
I mean, look, I got to ride this fucking train as far as it'll go, guys.
Right.
All right. So it's
I don't see. The thing is, I don't see a path for anybody else to get to the Final Four besides Alabama out of the South. I don't. I got San Diego State pulling it out over Virginia, and then it'll be Alabama and San Diego State. Alabama then plays Baylor, and Alabama and Marquette who will play each other in the Final Four.
Well, we ain't made it to that bracket yet, so hold that up. We ain't made it to the South yet. I mean, East yet.
I'm jumping ahead. My bad.
Okay. Now that we got the South bracket talked about, we're going to go to the Midwest, where Houston kind of surprised everybody in the country and landed a number 2 seed.
You mean the number 1?
No, they got a 1.
They're the number 1 seed in the bracket, but number 2 seed overall.
Yeah.
I got what you're saying now.
Oh, overall.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, no, I don't think it was really a surprise, because here's the deal. They did go 31-3, right?
Right.
And one of their 3 losses is to Alabama.
Right.
That is true.
Okay, so you couldn't give it to Kansas, who, by the way, going into their tournament, was projected to get the 1 overall and got blown out by Texas in the finals.
Right.
Which, by the way, if Texas doesn't hire that coach, shame on them.
Great.
I think they should hire him too, but some of the national experts, so to speak, are saying that they would be making a huge mistake if they do. I just don't agree with that assessment at all. They have played lights out basketball under him.
Yep.
All right. So in the Midwest, I do have a major upset in that bracket. And I'm going on stats. Okay, everybody says no. Yeah, well, I'm going on stats. I'm going to be honest with you. I have Texas going out. Right out the gate to Colgate. The reason why is they are the number 1 most percentage of making 3-pointers in a game at 56 point something. And also, they are the most the most precision offense in the nation. Their defense is a little lack, but
hey, real quick, can you tell me one team that Colgate beat this year?
No, I just did my homework
Can you tell me what conference Colgate's in?
No, I just did my homework when the bracket come out. There's a lot in this bracket I did my homework on. Hold on, let me
You didn't do very much homework, though, did you?
Hey, I did enough to know that if they shoot 45% of their threes against Texas, Texas will be beat.
Dude, if any team hits 45% of their threes, the other team's going to lose.
Wesley, they're averaging 56% of their threes a game.
Look, let me show you what Colgate's good at.
I don't care. I went with my gut there. I went because...
And I went with my mouth. Colgate's bad.
It's okay. We'll see if I'm right or if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I will tell you this, though. If Texas wins, they're done in the round of 32. And I'm going to tell you why.
Because A&M's going to beat that ass.
A&M is going to beat them.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go on record to say this. I have A&M in the Sweet 16 against Xavier. And I have Xavier beating them.
I'm calling an upset in this bracket, by the way, because I actually live in Georgia, and I know the AD personally. He worked for us at Alabama. His son actually was the number one
I know where he's going.
Player in America in college football, and he's playing in College Station. I'm picking Kennesaw State to win against Xavier.
Ooh.
Just because I am going to be a homer, and I know someone that works for the school.
So let's talk about a game. Let's talk about a game in the Midwest. Auburn and Iowa. Can Auburn beat them? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Auburn beats Iowa. Let's go to the game. This is what has me torn. Because down in my blood, I bleed orange and blue. Can Auburn beat?
Ugly blood.
Hey, it's okay, though, Wesley. Can Auburn beat Houston? In my mind, yes.
Nope.
In my mind, yes. But
in your mind, Auburn's probably a good school, too.
Yeah, you hush over there, Wesley. Anyway, but I do have Auburn losing to Houston in that bracket, but I do not have Houston as the number one seed.
I don't have Houston coming all the way out because
nope.
My shocker, my team that beats Houston, I think Miami beats Houston.
So you think Miami beats Indiana?
I do.
I thought Indiana beat Miami.
I think Miami cruises, and Miami. I'm picking Miami to go to the Elite Eight.
Okay.
I got it. Okay.
I've got a couple here.
Okay.
I think Miami plays Texas A&M. It's a rematch in shitty offenses of college football this past year, and I think Texas A&M makes it to the Final Four.
Wow.
So I was born and raised in Iowa.
Yeah,
grew up a Hawkeye fan, and I'm showing a little bit of homerism here because of that. I've got Iowa. Every year they've got a post player, a big white post player.
A big, slow white boy.
That comes out shooting threes like they're going out of style. I got them knocking off Auburn. I've got Iowa State beating the winner of Mississippi State and Pitt.
I called that one, yes.
I've got Iowa State matching up with Texas A&M, who knocks out Texas. In my Elite Eight, I've got Houston and Texas A&M.
Did they just put every slow white school in the Midwest? Indiana, Iowa, Xavier, Northern Kentucky. I'm like, what are we doing here, guys?
So I will tell y'all,
Chris, the only thing I have to say real quick about, yes, what you're saying about Iowa is true. But you can insert Iowa/Purdue every year. And they are not, and every year they are not getting past the Sweet 16. If they get to the Sweet 16.
Right.
Every year. Because you know what? Let's just call it what it is. What have we said about the SEC? They're the most athletic, right?
Yep.
Miami's super athletic. Houston, super athletic.
Yep.
You're not getting past the athletes.
And I've got Houston and Texas A&M in the final there. I've got Houston moving on to the Final Four.
I've got Xavier coming out and going to the Final Four and beating Houston. I have Xavier beating Texas A&M as a 3 seed. I don't see how. So both of y'all are saying that this is the first year in 60-something years that we put not a 1, 2, and 3 in the Final Four?
Well, no, there's been.
No, there hasn't.
Yes, there has.
Not below a 5 seed. It's never happened. You got a 7 seed going into the Final Four this year, is what you're telling me.
So you might want to go back and look, because I'm
North
pretty
Carolina
sure.
State was a 10 seed.
Oh, yeah, okay. I forgot about that.
So was Villanova, and UConn was an 8 seed when they won the damn thing.
I just don't see an A&M doing it. Sorry. But we'll see. That's why we do it.
Next, we'll go to the number 3 national seed over there in the West bracket in Kansas. Do you see any upsets happening there?
Yes. VCU takes out St. Mary. I'm riding them. If you remember a couple years ago, they was a 12 seed, and if I'm not mistaken, they went to the Elite 8, did they not?
Yeah, but this VCU.
That was a long time ago. And
I'm not saying they're going to go that far, but I do have them winning their first.
Right.
I have them going out in the round of 32 to UConn. So.
Is it just me, or does this seem like the weakest bracket? Somehow did Kansas get rewarded for?
I mean, you got Kansas, UCLA, and Gonzaga in there. That's pretty difficult right there.
Well, here's what I got. I got Gonzaga playing UCLA in the Sweet 16 with Gonzaga winning. I've got Kansas going to the Elite 8 with Gonzaga, and I have Kansas in the Final Four. To me, that's the easiest bracket out of all 4 of them. They've got the easiest path in my opinion.
I do think that Kansas has an easier path than most. And same with UCLA. That I just don't see. While Gonzaga is really, really good, I just don't see them being athletic enough to take out UCLA. I don't see UConn is an excellent basketball team, but I just don't see them being good enough to beat Kansas. So getting to the Elite 8.
They beat Alabama.
UConn did.
They
UConn
did.
beat Alabama.
They did.
Okay. I was not aware.
That was early in the season, and so did Gonzaga.
But hold on, Wesley. Didn't UConn lose to?
UConn lost several games in a row, but
I was supposed to throw a school out there at you. Didn't UConn lose to? Wasn't it Mississippi State? It was another SEC school that beat them.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I think they lost. They beat Alabama and then lost to another one. But the thing is, right now I just don't see. I'm sorry, I don't see UConn doing it.
I mean, Arkansas. Here's the deal: Arkansas plays hell in the tournament. Eric Musselman is a monster when it comes to getting those kids ready to play, and they play, and they're athletic, and it kind of reminds me of the old Nolan days, 40 minutes of hell, right?
Yeah.
Are you willing to take Arkansas and all those freshmen against a deep, experienced Kansas lineup?
So let me ask you a question. When Alabama steps on the floor, who's the best player in America?
Brandon Miller.
What year in school is he?
Freshman.
There we go. These kids play so much AAU ball now. Being a freshman isn't the same as being a freshman in 1995, Chris. These kids come in and they played more basketball than half these kids in college have played.
You got a point.
Right. Valid point.
I'll take Arkansas in the upset. Woo pig suey, baby. Let's go.
So
for me personally, I have Kansas and UCLA in the Elite 8 with Kansas actually moving on.
I think Gonzaga chokes like they normally do. I'm going to pick UCLA. Let's see. Plays Northwestern. UCLA is going to move on there. They'll end up against Gonzaga. They'll beat them because both of those schools have no bit. This isn't 1995, and John Wooden sure as hell isn't walking out of that door anytime soon. So I think they'll get to the Elite Eight and then get beat by I'm going Homer. I'm going Arkansas, A&M, Alabama. I'm putting 3 teams from the SEC in the Final Four. And you know what? My upset, the one true blue blood that makes it in the next to segue into the next region. I think in Coach K's first season gone, Duke makes it to the Final Four and plays Alabama.
Okay. That's an interesting take right there, because Purdue being the number 1 seed in the East is number 4 seed overall. This is the one bracket that I don't have a number 1 seed going to the Final Four. And actually, you mentioned Duke, and I'm just going to say I have one of the biggest upsets of the tournament in that bracket.
I got a couple.
Louisiana over Tennessee.
I actually did pick that one, but that's
yes,
not the biggest for
too.
me. The biggest for me is Oral Roberts, that gave everybody business. The last 2 years have been giving everybody business. They finally got a favorable matchup style-wise, and I think that they can hang with Duke and possibly beat them.
So here's the thing. If you'd have told me that 2 months ago when it was really cold outside, I'd have said yes. But, dude, if you've watched Duke play over the last month, Duke is one of the best teams in America right now.
Yeah, they are playing like that.
So here's won the ACC.
Here's a matchup that I want to bring up in this bracket since we're talking about it. I got Memphis beating Florida Atlantic. Memphis is probably one of the hottest teams out there right now, the best 8 seed out there right now. We'll go that far and say Purdue beats the winner of Texas Southern and Dickerson. That's a pretty much given. Here's where I drew a line and had to dig deep. I have Purdue and Memphis in the second round. I wanted to say Memphis won, but I did pick Purdue to win. It's going to be a slobber knocker game. It's not going to be a blowout. It's probably going to be maybe an overtime game. I would go that far to say, but it's going to be a good game.
I've actually got Memphis winning that game.
I do too.
Kendrick Davis. I'm jumping on the train.
Yeah, I picked Purdue to win that one. It's a throw up game.
I got Duke versus Tennessee, Purdue versus Memphis.
You got Duke versus Tennessee?
No, in the round of 32.
I got Duke versus Louisiana. I got Louisiana beating Tennessee. And the reason I'm going that is Tennessee's injured. And Louisiana, let's just be honest. You said it, Wesley. Chris has said it. I've said it. A group of seniors has just a little bit more experience. And with Tennessee being injured, I don't think they have enough firepower to take them out. Now, if they wasn't injured, it would be a different story.
And to that point, since over the last 3 weeks of the season, defensively, Tennessee has not been near as good as what they were early in the year. I don't think they've learned how to play without Zakai Ziegler right now. And I just think they're ripe for the upset. And
that's a valid point.
And Louisiana's actually got a big guy that can match up with Euros fairly well.
That's a good point.
Then with the Duke, Louisiana, I have Duke winning it. I have Duke playing Purdue in the Sweet 16.
I think Izzo gets past Marquette.
No. I don't have. Okay, let me tell you this. Talking about is I don't even think Michigan State. I have Michigan State losing in the first round to USC. USC is hot right now.
I'm saying Izzo versus Cal. Cal's gonna make a run deep because he's fighting for his life. He knows they don't want him there anymore, and he kind of wants to give it to the Kentucky fans and tell them to eat a big fat one.
I have Kentucky playing Marquette in the Sweet 16. That's why in Kentucky.
That Q is a K.
Or whatever, Marquette. I have Marquette into the Final Four playing Alabama. A matchup that a lot of people want to see because it's two similar style basketball programs this year. And just so everybody knows, I've looked across ESPN's bracket, and to be honest with you, 83% of America have Marquette and Alabama in the Final Four. Just saying. Possible could happen.
There are a whole bunch of dumbass people in America.
I'm just saying. I mean, it could happen there, Wes.
It could happen. And a frog could fly out of my ass and grow wings.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, hey, you're muted, Chris.
I forgot I muted it. This is the bracket where I've got some stuff happening.
That was the best 30 seconds ever, Chris. The most insightful take you've ever had.
So I think there's a 3 seed sitting out here that absolutely is getting ignored. And that 3 seed that I think is getting ignored is Kansas State. I think they handle Kentucky. I think they get by Marquette in a really good close battle, face Memphis in the Elite Eight, and move on to the Final Four.
Oh, you got K-State in Alabama?
You got sleeping on Duke. Don't sleep on the Dukies.
So,
speaking of somebody I think gets slept on a little bit out of that conference that I watched play several times this year, who, by the way, their floor kind of annoyed me to begin with, and the more I watched their games, I was like, you know what, that's kind of cool. I think TCU might be getting slept on a little bit.
That's a really good ball club. That's a really good ball club too.
And they play in a tough conference as well, the Big 12. I think we'd all agree is probably the second best conference in basketball, right? They're very athletic, just like the SEC. And TCU had a couple of games. They beat Kansas.
They did.
They beat they beat a couple of these teams that are in here as higher seeds. So I don't know.
Sure.
But like I said, my Final Four: Alabama, Duke, Arkansas, A&M.
Okay. My Final Four is Alabama, Xavier, Kansas, and Marquette. What are you going to call
it? My Final Four is Alabama, Kansas State, Houston, and Kansas.
Okay. My final is Alabama, Kansas. I said it. If Alabama don't make the finals this year, if they lose in the Final Four, I will be okay because I did not pick them to win it all. Being that it would be the first time ever that a team from Alabama has made the finals. It'll also be the first time ever that Alabama has ever made the Final Fours. It took a long process for me to do this, but I did it. I know, like I said before, if Alabama loses Sweet 16 or before, I'll never put faith in them again. I just can't do it. With knowing that the talent they have and the best player in college basketball and the way that they've been playing, if Alabama does not make the Final Four this year, they're not destined to ever make it.
So here's the question, though. With the number 1 overall seed, is there going to be any pressure put on Alabama when they start having to answer questions about certain things that have nothing to do with basketball?
Well, actually...
Actually, that's where I've gone in the finals. I've got Alabama versus Kansas. And because of the side noise that's going to follow Alabama into that game. Unfortunate as it may be that it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I think Kansas will be playing with house money in that, and I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout, but I picked the final score to be 83-70. Close game up until probably the last 5 minutes.
Chris, did you spy on me?
Chris, could it go the other way?
It could go the other way.
No, I'm saying, could that be a uniting cry for us to insulate ourselves and use it as a battle cry, us versus the world, and to look out for Brandon Miller, because the team has played really well. Brandon Miller didn't play well the last 2 weeks, man.
No, he did not.
Right. And that could very well be the case.
And it's good because they get to travel, and they get to go lock themselves in hotel rooms. They're not on campus. They're not they're not at home.
I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a valid point that they could insulate themselves and be a uniting factor. The only reason I thought it could go the other way is just because of Kansas being an older team. That I don't think they would let it creep in that way.
Well, I got to say this. I feel like now, Chris, that this has been revealed, I feel like that you spied on me this week. And I'm going to tell you why. We both have Alabama, Kansas in the finals. I have Kansas winning, which I said that a week or so ago, that I have them going back-to-back for the 3 times. It'd be the third school to do it in 60 years. But the problem is, my final score of that game was 83-80.
Interesting. Good close
You
game.
said 83-70, which is close. So now, Chris, everybody's revealed. Who do you got winning it, Wes? Before I say this.
You really think I'm Come on, you got to ask this question.
I know where he's going.
But look, you got Alabama. Who do you have in that?
The odds are that we won't win, right?
Actually, the odds are in y'all's favor right now, according to Vegas.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is there are 64 other teams in this, or actually 68 teams, which doesn't make sense to me, but I think that, like I said, this is the reason I don't love college basketball, right? What's going to happen is a team like Alabama, who has played a hell of a schedule, somewhere along the lines, they may stumble. And everyone will say, it's just like Gonzaga. Now, granted, Gonzaga choked every year. Now, the difference with them and Gonzaga, Alabama's been battle-tested. And the one thing I'll give Nate Oates credit for the past 3 years, we've played teams on the road like Baylor. We beat them the year they won the national championship.
That's true.
We beat Houston last year. We beat Gonzaga last year. We beat Tennessee last year. We beat Arkansas last year. We played Gonzaga the year before. We played them this year. We played UConn. We played Michigan State. We actually beat UNC this year when they were ranked number 1, which, by the way, UNC is the first team to ever be preseason number 1 since the tournament went to 64 teams and not make the tournament.
And then, and I'm firing a shot here. I thought the Hubert Davis statement yesterday was aloof at best. He's staring down a nose at the rest of college basketball. I was kind of offended by what he had to say. I understand it's North Carolina and the NIT should be beneath you. I get where that comes from. But to turn down an invitation to play in NIT and say the things that he said, I'm just not okay with that.
I agree.
Well, so here's the deal. I don't have a problem with that because the way college basketball is now, it's not like college football where you need the extra practices and the kids are guaranteed to almost have to stay because they have to stay for 3 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it is UNC, and he's got to set that precedent again. Even though he's won a national championship, he's got to set the precedent that this is not okay. Like, you are the blue blood of all blue bloods. You and Kentucky go back and forth every year for who has the most wins. You had coaches like Dean. You had coaches like Roy. Like, Michael Jordan played there. James, like, you've had Jerry Stackhouse, your coach. Like, all these guys. I mean, it is a stud school, and the NIT is beneath them, man. And I'm sorry, it's like Alabama. I wouldn't have a problem if we went 7-6 or 6-6, and we turned down a bowl bid. The only reason I would want us to get a bowl bid is football is different. We need the extra practices.
And that's a legitimate point of view as well. And while we're here and talking about some of these old players like Jerry Stackhouse and Hubert Davis and the old coaches like Roy Williams and Dean Smith, I'm going to send an advertisement out for one of our sponsors, which is Row One Brand, and take a listen, take a look, tell me what you think.
Let's be honest, you're here because you love sports. We love sports too, and our friends over at Row One Brand love sports as much as we do. Row One Brand sells sports wall art, sports gift watches, and vintage apparel with ornamental designs created from real game ticket stubs and vintage sports memorabilia in their collection. If you want some vintage Golden State Warriors memorabilia, they have that too. It's a sports collector's dream website for anything sports related. Go over to row1brand.com to check out their great inventory. And when you use the promo code VSP15, you'll get 15% off any item on the whole site. That's code VSP15 for 15% off any item on the site. So click on the link below and go check them out. Row One Brand, America's best vintage sports art, sports gifts.